one of the most awesome things about music is that all the different chords we're going to be learning over time, they all have a flavor to them, a color, if you will. And I think one of the most important things as a musician that you want to do over time is develop your ear. I think that's really important. And I think you'll always be a better musician the more and more your ear develops over time. And we're going to really develop your ear through our programs here at the Next Level Guitar. And I just wanted to illustrate this fact to you, how certain chords give off a certain vibe or a certain color. For instance, we're going to first learn a bunch of major and minor chords. And that's going to be one of our first goals, is we're going to learn some chords. Okay? Major chords are very happy sounding. You know, for instance, I'm going to play a C major chord here. And that gives off a very happy vibe. Or a G major. D major. As a group, major chords for the most part are very happy sounding. And if I put those chords together in a progression, like I'll play a C to an F to a G, it's going to be very happy sounding. Check it out. I'm happy! I'm happy! Happy sounding chords, right? Whereas minor chords are generally much darker sounding. So as I'm going to strum this chord, I want you to listen. I'm going to play, I don't know, I'll play a D minor. Listen to the darkness. Not a happy sounding chord, my friends, right? You hear that? It's a very dark sound, these minor chords. Listen to an A minor. See, all the minor chords have that darker edge to them. Here's an E minor. Very darker sounding, right? As opposed to a bright, happy major chord. So these groups of chords, you're going to start listening, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I hear that, that sounds happy, that must be major, right? That must be a major chord, a major progression. For the most part, not always, for the most part. And this is important because I want to dial your ear into these tones, especially if you want to start writing your own music, which I'll get you doing very quickly. And a lot of chords have this characteristic. For instance, major seventh chords. Major seventh chords, to me, sound very, how you say, dreamy, very jazzy, very sweet sounding. For instance, here's a C major 7. Hear that? Hear how nice and jazzy and sweet sounding? Dreamy that is? Here's a D major 7. See, they have that same quality. Right? That real, whatever major. Here's an A major 7. Again, there's a jazzy sound. I'll play, even if I play them like up higher or in like a bar chord formation. Here's a D major 7th again. See, very dreamy. I move that major 7. Very, very jazzy, very sweet sounding. So one of the things I want as you're going through these, and we're going to learn chords in a little bit, is listen and really listen to the chords. I mean, listen to them. And pick out those happy major chords and those sad minor chords. This is so huge. People that, because I mentioned to you about writing music, like let's say people who can do it really well as far as playing different variations and getting an emotion across is guys who like write scores for movies, right? You're watching a movie and let's say there's a love scene in this movie, right? And there's music underneath it, right? Most of the time that's going to be a nice happy major sounding kind of thing going on underneath that because you want people to see it and the filmmakers want people to be happy when they're seeing that, right? They're not going to put some dark, Phrygian kind of foreboding melody in a happy love scene, but they'll put the dark sounding Phrygian thing in like a horror movie where you want to keep people on the edge of their seats and whatnot. It's amazing how music can do that, right? Like a car horn. A car horn is a very dissonant sounding interval. It's not a nice happy major chord. Imagine that. Let's say as everyone hits their car horn you hear this. Who would get out of the way, right? Because that's what you want to do when you hit that horn. You want people to be like, ooh. So that's a very dissonant sounding interval, that car horn. I think it's a major second, maybe? Something very dissonant, right? Because you want people to hear that and be like, whoa. You know? So this is how music and sound works for us as human beings, and it's so awesome because you can manipulate that. I'm using the word manipulate kind of loosely. I don't mean manipulate in terms of trying to pulling the sheep over, the wool over someone's sheep, the wool over someone's eyes, but you know what I'm saying. If you're writing a certain piece of music, let's say you had a really bad day and you're kind of feeling sad and you want to write this sad thing, you're going to be more drawn to using those dark minor chords. Right? As opposed to, you know, if you want to write something a little bit more upbeat and happy, you might be more drawn to playing some nice, happy, major sounding progression, right? So, remember as we go through these, I really want you to listen carefully to the chords, and I'm going to be bringing this up over and over again, and really try to develop your ear, because I really want to get your ear. I'm planting seeds here. We'll be planting lots of seeds in these modules. Really want to get your ear developed. It's one of the best things you could do as a musician, to develop your ear, because then if you have a really good ear, it's going to help you improvisational wise. It's going to help you, like if you're learning songs, you'll just be able to hear a song off of a CD and kind of figure out what they're playing. You won't have to rely on tablature, which we don't want to rely on, because in most instances and many times it's inaccurate. So you can kind of figure it out for yourself, unless you have a really good source of tablature or sheet music, and there are good sources out there, but a lot of stuff, especially the internet, is flooded, because anybody can post it, you know, flooded with a lot of inaccuracies. So I really want you to dial in the different sounds and colors of these chords, and we're really going to develop your ear as we go on. Oh, and I'll give you one other example. Another example of a group of chords that have a certain vibe, color to them, is like a seventh chord, a dominant seventh chord, are very twangy, very bluesy sounding to me. I get that sound, that feeling from, for instance, here's a C seventh. Hear that twang? That like bluesy sound? That's that dominant seven, that flat seven. At the end of that chord, right? And all seventh chords have that for the most part. Like here's a G7. Listen, listen. Hear that? Especially that end. That twang. Very bluesy, very twangy chords. As opposed to, like, here's a C seventh. Twangy, bluesy. Here's a C major seventh. Only one note difference. Sweet and jazzy. See, just one note. Just one note. You can totally change the character, the vibe of something with just manipulating a note. That's what makes the guitar so amazing. C major seventh, sweet and jazzy. C seventh, twangy and bluesy. Right? Big difference. Big difference in the sound you're trying to get across. Here's an A seventh. Again, hear that twang. Very bluesy. Very twangy. As opposed to like a dark sounding minor chord. Right? That has that real foreboding kind of dark sound to it, right? So again, we're going to dial your ear in very strong with our program here at the Next Level Guitar, and I will see you in the next module.